Hi boys and girls, I'm going to go ahead and show you where you can find your assignment for math, lesson 1502, and we'll go over how you're going to complete that assignment. You're going to go to your math course, and you're going to go to module 15. We're looking at lesson 15.02, coordinating ordered pairs. All right, this is a 7-page lesson. Make sure you go through all 7 pages and go through that content, and make sure you go through all of the examples and practice problems that they provide. When you get to page 7, it'll be what's my assignment. You're going to click on the coordinating ordered pairs, and we're going to go over how you're going to complete this assignment. So it's a 2-page assignment where you're going to be completing 4 different tables following certain rules. So I'm going to go ahead and screenshot. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and screenshot the first 2, and we'll go over a couple examples, and then I'll screenshot the last 2. So you're going to complete the table so each term in the sequence is entered, then use these terms to create the ordered pairs. So for sequence 1, we're going to follow rule 1. For sequence 2, we're going to follow rule 2. And then we'll write the ordered pairs. So for rule 1, for sequence 1, we're adding 2 starting from 9. So with all of these charts, it tells you what you need to start with. So we're starting with the number 9 for sequence 1. So I'm going to put that number in there. And then for rule 2, we're adding 3 starting from 5. So we're going to start with 5 for sequence 2, and we're going to follow the rule 2, which is add 3. Okay, so let's go back to rule 1. Rule 1 is add 2 starting from 9. So we have our start number 9, and the rule here is adding 2. So what I'm going to do just to show you the work here is I'm going to put the rule on the side here. 9 plus 2 is 11. Actually, let me go back to red. I'll put the rules in blue, and we'll put the new number in red. Okay? So there's our first number when we followed the rule of adding 2. So now I'm going to continue with that rule, and I'm going to be at 11, but I'm going to continue that rule of adding 2. When I do 11 plus 2, I get 13. So there's my first number. And then I'm going to go back to that rule, add 2. Okay, and I'll let you finish this chart. For sequence 2, it says add 3 starting from 5. So we have our first number, what we're starting with, 5, and our rule here is adding 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. Okay, and then let's see here, we're going to go back to the rule of adding 3 for rule 2 for sequence 2. And that gives us 11. And we're going to go back to that rule of adding 3. Because rule 2 for sequence 2 is add 3. And I'll let you finish the chart. Then what you're going to do is you're going to write the ordered pairs. So our first ordered pair is 9, 5. So don't forget your parentheses, 9, comma, 5. Our second ordered pair is 11, 8. So parentheses, 11, comma, 8. End parentheses. And our next one is 13, so parentheses 13, comma 11, end parentheses. Okay, and you'll finish the chart for number 1. Number 2, I'm going to get you started with number 2. So for rule 1, for sequence 1, we're subtracting 4 starting from 20. So here we're going to start with 20, and we're going to subtract 4. And again, you don't have to put the rules here. It's just, I'm just using it to show you what I'm doing. 20 minus 4 is 16. Okay, and I'll let you finish the chart for number 2. You're going to follow that same rule. So then you're going to be at 16, and where you're going to subtract 4. For sequence 2, you're subtracting 3 starting from 20. So you're going to start with 20 again. But for sequence 2, we're following rule 2, which is subtracting 3. and that gets you 17. And then you'll start with 17, you'll follow rule 2 again, which is subtract 3. And then once you go through all of your numbers, you write your ordered pairs, starting with the first one, parentheses 20, comma, 20, end parentheses. And I'll let you continue that chart for number 2. Okay, close out those examples. We'll look at rule 3 and rule 4. And again, I'll get you started on these two, but then you're going to have to continue the charts. All right, so for number 3, it says rule 1, multiply by 2, then add 1, starting from 1. So it always tells you what number you're starting with. For sequence 1, we're starting with 1. And let's look at the rule here. And this is where we have 2 steps here. We're multiplying by 2, and then we're adding 1. That's why writing out the rule on the side might help you. So we're going to multiply by 2 and then add 1. So 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3. So our next number is 3. You're going to follow the same rule. Multiply by 2, then add 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So that's your next number. And then I'll let you finish the chart for sequence 1. For sequence 2, divide by 2, then add 4, starting from 40. So it gives us our starting number of 40. And then let's look at the rule. The rule is to divide by 2 and then add 4. Okay, well, 40 divided by 2 is 20, plus the 4 is 24. And then you'll follow the same rule. And again, this is a 2-step rule, so it might be helpful to write it out like I am here. So then 24 divided by 2 is 12. And then you're doing 12 plus 4 gives you 16. And then you'll continue on. You'll write your ordered pairs. Number 4 is where it gets a little different. Nicole and Ian generate 2 patterns. So we've got Nicole's pattern on the left, Ian's pattern in the middle, and then we'll write the coordinate pairs. Nicole uses the rule multiply by 3, then add 2, starting with 1. So we know Nicole's starting with 1, and her rule is to multiply by 3, then add 2. So she's got two steps as well. Multiply by 3, and then add 2. Okay, so you're going to do that for each of her steps. So 1 times 3 is 3, plus 2 is 5. That's our second number. And I'll let you do that for the rest of Nicole's pattern. Ian's pattern is where it gets a little tricky. Ian uses the rule add 1/2, then multiply by 2, starting from 0. So we're starting at 0. It tells us, as all the other ones, it tells us what number to start with. We're starting with 0. And her rule is to add 1/2, then multiply by 2. So add 1/2 and then multiply by 2. Well, 0 plus 1/2 is 1/2. Anything plus 0 is that number itself. And then we're doing 1/2 times 2. Well, 1/2 times 2, really what you're doing is doing 2 divided by 2, which gives us the new number of 1. So 0 plus 1/2 is 1/2, and then 1/2 times 2 gets you 1. Excuse me, I'll do another example for this one. Same rule, multiply by 1/2. Add by 1/2, and then times it by 2. So for this next one, we're doing 1 plus 1/2 times 2. So 1 plus 1/2 gets us 1.5, and then 1.5 times 2, well, 1.5 plus 1.5 gets us 3. So our next number here is 3, and you'll follow that same rule. You'll add 1/2 times 2. So it'd be 3.5 times 2. Okay, so you really could just do 3.5 plus 3.5, okay, when you're multiplying it by 2. And then you'll write the coordinate pairs. All right, so that is what you're doing for lesson 1502. You've got 4 different charts that you're going to be completing. When you're done, you're going to go back to your Buzz lesson. You'll click on the next activity tab. You'll click on the blue plus mark and submit your work.